how to communicate between each components, and we also going to talk about the DOM events that all HTML5 provides. It's basically a collection of APIs and the objects. And in that, we're going to discuss about what's the best practices of the events. What should be the name? How should we call? How should we dispatch? How should we pass the values from using the event to another component? All of these stuff we're going to talk about today. Today's session is not going to be the time taking, because I already have prepared all the components. I just want to show you, and with a demo as well. So I'm posting a URL on the chat for all of you who wants to participate on the quiz, or for the quiz and raffle for the certification vouchers and the hoodies. The message is also pinned. All right. Continuing with that. So to get started with the events, let's talk about the custom event first. Salesforce under the LWC provides the basic events themselves. All right, so you don't have to worry about a couple of sections that you need to do with the uh, I mean the events that are already being assigned or namespace by the Salesforce to do certain functionalities. You can go to the Salesforce developers library to have a look at what the events are available for LWC or Aura or any other included by the Salesforce itself. But there's also the functionality for the custom events that you can do on your own. So using that, the first constructor that you need to use is the custom event. This constructor enables you to create the custom event for your own functionality or features. And once you call that, the second thing you need to do is to have the detail property. Detail property is being used when you want to send the data using the events. Let's just say you are calling the flow from the LWC, although you cannot do it right now, but let's just consider you are doing it using your Aura. If you are doing it using the Aura and you want to pass some values to the flows, what you can do is that you can create the new custom event called XZ and pass any value variable from the LWC to the flows. I know it looks like a dream, but yeah, it's completely possible. And I've also so meanwhile, if you have any questions, I've also enabled the Q&A tab, so please feel free to post your questions over there. And the next thing is the event target interface. This event target interface is actually allows you to dispatch or listen the event, and also refers as an event handler. So even if you create this new instance and provide the detail property, and it will not be triggered until you initialize this event target interface. I hope that that's simple and easy to understand. So let's just quickly recap. We do have this custom event, the detail property, and the event target. All of these properties are related to the custom events. All right, do you want me to proceed? All good. All right, moving to the next one. So let's get started with the first custom event. Here I'm going to do create a simple custom event with example here, and quickly show you my screen. Let me know when you will be able to see my screen, and then we're going to get started. But before that, let me change this to the separate screen. All right, just give me a second, guys. All right, this will be turned off. And this great. So meanwhile, if, while I'm juggling with this in multi windows, what you can do is, all right, great. So first thing you need to do, we're gonna do is create a new custom event. I'll show you the example. I got it from the LWC recipe that how you can do the page. Let's example of the pagination. So the first thing they need to make sure that the event name should not contain any uppercase letters, because if there is any uppercase letters is there, so that's basically that's prohibited in ES6 JavaScript. If you are following that, to cater that, you have to add the hyphen before wherever the name is. I'll also talk about it more in details. The second thing is this, any spaces and separate. Sorry, do not use any separate words or under. I mean, use underscores to separate the words. That's what I was talking about. If there are any, but this is the best practice to use the simple event. Here's an example. Here you can see on this third boolean value, they create custom event and dispatch. So we're going to use constant event variable. That's a new variable, and we have started a new constructor, the new custom event, and under the parenthesis we have the event name. That's where you will mention the event name, and then dispatch event is going to is the event target which will trigger the event. You can also pass the variables using the detailed property under the custom event constructor, and then attach event listener declaratively. All right, so at this stage I'm going to show my screen, the VS Code screen to you guys. All right, let me go first to this paginator component. So basically this is basic the paginator component. What it does actually is, actually let me start from here. So this paginator component contains previous and next buttons. When a user clicks the buttons, the component creates and dispatches either previous or next event. You can drop the paginator component into any component that needs previous or next button functionality. That parent's component listens to the event and handles them. So let me show you the HTML file here. So I mean on the JavaScript file, we already talked about this import functionality. You need to do import Lightning element, and that actually comes as soon as you create a new Lightning Web component. And this is the class name paginator. We have created this one method called handle previous, which is actually using which is dispatching the event, and we do have the event under here called previous. And same goes with the handle next. So we are using another method called handle next, which is passing and dispatching the custom event called next. The HTML file is quite simple. It has a lightning layout item, and it has two buttons. So one button under this item and the next button under that item. And if you if you have a look at this, this is using the event type. This is called on event type. The HTML5 uses the on functionality. So if you are using, let's just so on click means click, right? So click event is getting triggered with this on click functionality. So this method handle previous is a method in our JavaScript, this component handle previous, that will dispatch this event. So as soon as this button will be clicked by the user, the event will be dispatched, the previous event will be dispatched. So we have created these two methods here. All right, same goes with the next one. So this is the next layout, lightning layout item, which has the next button, which has the function which has the on click event called handle next. Please feel free to post questions on a Q&A tab. All right, these events are simple, something happened events. They don't pass a data payload up to the DOM tree. They simply announce that a user clicked a button. Now let's take the example of this paginator component being used under another parent component, and which will listen and add the handles to the previous and next event. So going to the next component we do have here called uh, simple.
Hamza, sorry, cutting you off. Can you zoom in a little bit?
Yeah, sure. I'm not sure how can I zoom it on the VS Code. Is that too um, small for you guys?
I think yes. People are just like Ina mentioned. Uh, that's too small to read.
I didn't write that. Or let me try modifying the configuration for of my VS Code. So font, I think I get it. So I've changed it to 420. Is that okay?
So,
All right, great. Also, brother, can you please confirm if the Q&A tab has been enabled,
yeah, yeah, I can see the Q and A
but the audience can?
there. Let me check.
Thanks. All right. To our parent component, that's simple events. So going under the component called simple event. So this simple event is a basic component that is, and let's just go to the HTML first. So in this HTML, um, you can see that we have simple lightning card, right? Lightning card is sorry. This lightning card is having simple, the name of the title, and then we have this heading of the page number actually, and then we you can see that we are calling the paginator child component using c dash. C is actually our the namespace. So if you know that the basic namespace we have is a C, so it's a C dash paginator. As you can see that this is all small letters. There's no capital letter. So let's imagine that the our child component name was something like um, let's just say paginator. Actually, it's small. Paginator component, right? Let's just assume that we had this event. I'm just making the text. Oh, that's okay. Let's just assume that we had this pagination component. We're not allowed to use any capital letter here. So how to resolve that? That's a very important one because I stumble on this one for a long time, and I figured out that there's a way for that is to use the hyphen and make the C small, right? So instead of the capital C, remove just replace whatever the capital letter that you have with the hyphen and the next within a small word. This will how you can call your small the child component having the capital letter being used under that. All right. So coming back to this one, and here we have this paginator, and as you can see that um, we are passing three attributes to the child. The first one is the class. Actually, that's not actually getting passed, but is being used for this parent component. And then we have this on previous and the on next events. So as you know that this on actually is the event type, and what we are passing is the previous, and same goes with the next. So whatever happens, it calls this previous and the handle next event. All right, and then this is just the other section as well. Coming back to the JavaScript we do not have much, But what we have is that whenever the event getting dispatched, the default value of the page is 1, and if the handle previous gets triggered, so as you know, under this HTML, this component will show you two buttons. One is the next and one is the previous. So on previous button, this method should be called from the parent. And what it will do in parent is that it will check if the page size is greater than 1, then remove this one, uh, decrement it and update the page variable. And for the next, it just increments the page value, whatever it has. The default value of the page is 1. It's a simple component. So what will happen is, as soon as you click next, this method will call from the parent and will increase the page. All right, let's try opening up the org and see it under the demo. So make sure you have sfdx updated, because Salesforce does update that with respect to weekly. Actually, Salesforce provides weekly updates for this component. So now I'm sharing the tab with you. Here we'll go to LWC recipe. So this LWC recipe is available on a GitHub. You can simply Google it, and you will find all of these components and examples available, open source. So you are free to modify, use it, and learn from it. All right, so here you go. We have this simple event here, and as you can see that this is the page one that was showing under. Let me do one thing here. To better for the better understanding, I'm going to share my whole the entire screen. All right, great. And I'm opening my um, LWC side by side here. All right. So this page one is actually this page and the variable that we have in our JavaScript. The default value is 1, right? This is the SLDS card. The whole card is coming up here. And then we have this child component called Paginator, which is showing us these two buttons, the next and the previous button. And then we have this view source code, which is actually this button. So just ignore about it. um so as soon as I click the next, you will find this this will get incremented with plus 1, that will be changed to 2. How? Because this next button is being used under this child component, and we are using these events on next and on next on previous. So as soon as the on next is event is called under child, it will launch. It will method which is handle next, and this handle next event will actually increment whatever the page value has. And as the as after this winter 20t, we don't have to use the track parameter. So let's assume that we do have the track here. So as soon as this page, the value will be visible there. So let's try that. On the next, we can see that the page value has been incremented, and so on. And so the more I click, the numbers getting incremented. Same with the previous one. When I click previous, it is actually incrementing the value from the page, but not until why? Because here, if I show you this window, this page, this JavaScript file, on this and then this. Sorry. So if you look at this condition, so if the page value is greater than 1, only do decrement then, rather than that. So right now is value 1. So if condition is getting false, then it's doing nothing. I hope that's simple and easy to understand. Let's go back to our presentation. So it was very simple to use the custom events, and let's I just want to see if there are any questions for me. They're not. I try and enable that twice. Well, please use the chat window to ask me anything. All right, coming back to the events. The next is the attach event listener programmatically and adding the handler and listener in JavaScript. Um, Actually, this reminds me of something that I want to also show you here with the data actually. So I'll come back to this, and let's just sorry. There you go. All right, coming back to my, let me just close it because we're not using it. All right, and this is VS Code. We got another component called event with data. I also want to show you this one. So even with data, if you click on this HTML file, let's just see what's happening in here. We do have this lightning card here. Then the template is checking if the contact has the data. If it has the data, then proceed. Otherwise, it should not. That's how you use the compositions in Lightning Web Components. Then we have the layout. Then the layout item, which is actually having the for each on the context data and showing you the contact information here, which is actually passing the values to the contact list item. So because remember when I told you that use the hyphen when you have the capital letter component name, use that. This contact list item component here. So here you go. If you see my cursor, it's in here. You can see that it has the L and the I are capitalized. That's how we are using the all small letters for calling the child method. So what this child is actually doing, we'll see in a while. Which is we do have the key. We are passing the key. We are having the contact and on select. All right. So on select is actually the event, but the contact and key are the data that we are passing from parent to child. All right. Um, so just remember, whenever you see on, that is actually the event. And using the contact and the other variables are actually we are passing the data. The class is actually the simple attribute that is being assigned on this component. And we scroll down, we have a simple if else condition, which is showing that if the selected contact is available, has the value true, then um, pass these values to DOM. This is actually the image, and the image also comes from the selected contact picture, and then the name, the title, and the phone and the email address. So what I assume that what this component is doing is that it has the list of contacts that's coming from the Salesforce, and it's showing but when you click on it. So handle select means when you click on it, when you select any of the contact, it will show you the rest of the details of that person. Let's just go into the contact list item, child component, and see what's happening there. Let's first go to the JavaScript. Here we have a simple contact API parameter decorator. API decorator, if you just a refresher for all of those who have been to our last session. So API decorator allows you to communicate from the other component. So remember, when we were calling that, it has we were passing the contact method, contact variable. So contact is getting in here from the parent, and there's a handle click method which is actually the getting triggered when you have there should be any HTML button there, and it's actually preventing the fall. So the comment says it all. Is preventing default behavior of anchor tag. So it will should not take you to anywhere. And we are creating a new custom event called select. And as you can see that we have detail tab, detail property, and we are passing the contact ID through that. And then we are firing the custom event using the dispatch event. Salesforce select event is our the constant variable that we are using for custom event. All right, coming back to the HTML. In HTML, we have this anchor tag which has the hash value. That's why we are preventing it to proceed with further things. And on click, which is another event, this is the default standard HTML5 event. On click, this will trigger whatever we had just discussed earlier. Let's just keep it open here. And we have this image under the picture and the name. All right. So let's go back to our parent component under the JavaScript. What it's doing is it's getting the values from the Apex file. We have Apex class, which is probably getting all the context. The var method actually getting the Apex method. We'll discuss more in the next session. So var method is actually getting called by the LWC to call the Apex method, and is returning all the values under this context variable. And we have the selected contact variable assigned initially. And on handle select, we are actually that's the event that is getting the details. So we are getting the detail of the handle select, and that ID is getting passed by the child component. So here on the contact list item, if you see, we have this API variable, right? And that is getting passed by this. We are dispatching the event calling select, and the value is the contact ID, right? Um, Coming back to the parent, so this contact ID is we are getting it, and when as soon as we get the contact ID, we are looking for this contact under the context that is called that are received from the Apex, and this is the data.find method under the JavaScript, and we are actually making sure that the values are correct, and if it's correct, the value will be entered under the selected contact method. Okay, let's just see um, in example. So here you go. We have this event with data, and on the actually it has a very good example that is showing you that this all these names are all of these functionality is actually the child's functionality, the contact list item. As soon as I click on it, so let me do that again. Opening my Visual Force side by side, all right, and actually let's just remove it. So remember, there's a click item, the HTML file, which is actually has the on click event, which actually shows you as soon as you click on it, the contact ID will pass from child to parent, and parent will show you the value or the rest of the stuff. So if I click on Amy, here you go, Amy Taylor, the destination, the phone, and the email are coming up. If I click on another name, Michael, the Michael's photo, name, and other stuff. So this is the same functionality that is being used by passing the data using the events. All right, let's go back to our topic. And the last one is probably the sharing the JavaScript code with the, let's just say that you have this is a perfect example of something that, let's just say you have the calculation um, method written on a JavaScript on the LWC, and there is another component who wants to use the same functionality over that. How you can do that? The first and the dumb way is to use the same method, copy paste the same method on another component's JavaScript file and use that. But with the LWC, you can use the same JavaScript code for the different component. So under the example, let me just show you quickly. Going under the miscellaneous, and here we have component named call, miscellaneous shared JavaScript. This is actually, this one is I've already personally used. So it is asking for the principal dollar value, then the terms of the mortgage, and it's asking for the rate of the interest rate that you're getting. And there's a button called calculate monthly payment. If you click on it, it will show you your mortgage's monthly payment. This component is using the JavaScript which is being used on another component. Let's quickly see that. Closing the rest of the stuff, going back to the test. Here you have miscellaneous shared JavaScript. Um, Under the JavaScript, we have this basic values, so the default values, and this is very important. This is the what I was talking about. So we already knew how we can call the child parent from the HTML, but from JavaScript, here you go. We can use another components JavaScript file using c/mortgage. Mortgage is another component that we have under LWC, and we are importing these two methods out from it. And these two, as soon as you import them, you can see that you can utilize these methods like a simple JavaScript method that is like under the same file. All right. So we have the C, actually the namespace again. The mortgage is our component. The if I can show that to you, and we are importing these two methods from it, and this whole component is using that methods. So here you go. We have this mortgage, and this mortgage only has the JavaScript file, not the HTML file. Reason, because this component is only is there to share the JavaScript methods for the other. And how you can do that? Using this export attribute. So we have this one method. This is a simple JavaScript file that you do write on a HTML or JavaScript page that has this method and this method, which is getting exported using this attribute in LWC. Right? When you export it, you can use it under another JavaScript file. All right. I hope that was useful for all of you. We do have our next sessions for Latin data service, including LTS and the navigation services with the Aura and LWC interoperability with some extra references. We're going to talk about the navigation services and how you can call or use the LWC interoperability under the LWC. I'm stop sharing my screen, and please feel free to post any of your questions here, or if you should ask me anything. I'm easily reachable using the LinkedIn, WhatsApp, or whatnot. So, and also you can also watch all of these recordings available on the YouTube. So I'm gonna start the recording. Thank you so much for joining. Now it's time for